Hey everyone, and welcome back to BMX News. This is a weekly BMX news show where I talk about everything that happened in the previous week within the world of BMX that I think you guys might care about. That being said, the first thing that I have to talk about this week is an update on the 2020 Olympics. There have been some new updates put out by the UCI and some dates that have been announced, and what we've got here is that the 2020 Summer Olympics are set to take place from July 23rd to August 8th. In 2021. This is all on an article written up on Vital BMX that you can find. It's the first link in the description down below. There's some more stuff from this article that I want to read here. In terms of qualifying, the initial qualification period was set for November 1st, 2018 to May 11th, 2020, but many events in the beginning of 2020 have been canceled or postponed, and because of that, 2 World Cup events will take place in 2021 that will count towards Olympic qualification. So this is all getting extremely complicated, but it's something for people who are into this kind of thing and people who are into the following of the events and processes and how everything goes. It's probably pretty interesting for them, and I wanted to make sure that I talked about this. And there's one interesting thing here that's written in this write-up, and it says, to the best of my knowledge, only one relevant event took place that will not count, the Guadalajara World Capital of Sport 2020, which Nick Bruce won. It's kind of interesting that it's just not going to count. I don't really get into all of this stuff too much, so I don't know exactly what that means or why or anything like that, but it's something that needs to be talked about because it's an event that somebody won who would have had points towards the Olympics and all of these things that now they're not going to have, even though they were at the event and won. I don't really know. But in regards to the 2 events that are happening in 2021, it says here that it seemingly makes up for the 2 canceled events, the Pyongyang and the Hiroshima events, and will also bring a sense of recency to the Olympics, being that there's an event going on in 2021 right before the Olympics rather than the last events that actually have qualifying implications happening in 2020, almost a year or longer than a year before the event actually happens. It says there's no word on when or where these events will take place, but they do carry a large number of points and have the potential to shake up the final rankings. So this is very interesting, and there's a couple other linked articles in this write-up that have to do with the qualifications and who they thought was going to qualify and all of these things, and Vital BMX does a very good job of following all of this and posting updates about it in a way that everyone can digest and read and kind of understand. So hopefully we see more from them in the future on this, and let me know what you guys think about all of this in the comments down below. I don't really have an opinion. Obviously it was postponed to 2021. It only makes sense that they put it almost exactly a year after it was supposed to happen. They're still calling it the 2020 Summer Olympics, which also makes sense. I do wonder if they're going to hold the 2024 Olympics in 2025 now, or if they're just going to have a 3-year window between them this time. I don't really know, but what I do want to know is what you guys think about it. The next thing I want to highlight this week is something I wasn't going to talk about until a little bit later in the video, but after watching it, I absolutely have to talk about it at the beginning because I want everyone who watches this news video to go and watch this video. It is the Ride On 2020 Things We Have Seen video, and this video is a compilation of all of the dudes in the Ride On BMX Facebook group who submitted videos. And if you guys don't know what that is, this is a group for older riders. So the youngest rider in this video is 31 years old, and then the majority of the rest of them are older than 40, and some are even in their 50s. There's actually probably more guys closer to the age of 50 in this video than closer to the age of 30, and it is just so awesome to see this because everyone is shredding. There's a dude who's 53 years old that did a 360 nose pick over a double coping spine in here, and the video's got everything from dirt to skate parks to street in it, from all kinds of dudes all over the world, and I just absolutely love watching this video. And I think that with the older audience that I sometimes have on this channel, you guys would be inspired by this to get out there and ride. I know I'm excited after watching this because it just means that there's not an end in sight for the people who are riding. That means you don't have to quit when you turn 30. 40, even 50. And I even remember in a previous one, there was a guy who was 60 years old in there, and there's a guy who actually watches these videos who's 60 who I met at Ray's. And it's just so cool to see that because we don't know when the end is. You don't get old until you quit. And there's a lot of guys right now who are realizing that and coming back to BMX riding. And I love seeing videos like this to inspire those people. And this is the meaningful type stuff that needs to be promoted and put out there. Who cares how good somebody is at riding their bike whenever you can inspire people with something like this? And from there, there's really not a ton to talk about this week. There is a whole bunch of videos though, and a lot of them are really, really good. So let's get into talking about those right now. And the first one is with Matt Ray from the Elevated Perspective, and it's called The Boston Massacre. I think the first thing I want to say about this video is that if there was any debate whatsoever on whether or not Matt Ray could just do anything he wants to on his bike anytime that he wants to, this video settles that debate. He legitimately does so many mind-blowing bar spin and tail whip variations and grind variations in this video that it is just unreal. It's just over 6 minutes of insanity from start to finish, and I can't lie, the song that they used at the beginning kind of had me like weirded out. It was this absolutely insane progressive BMX street riding paired with this like upbeat, happy, kids sounding song almost. They didn't go together in a way that it was just kind of weird to see the type of riding that was going on with the song that was playing on, but that doesn't matter. It's about the riding, and the riding is insane. Matt Ray, you know his riding. You know he does insane bar spin and tail whip stuff in here. Pretty sure at one point in here, he does an up rail to triple bar spin. And at this point, I kind of want to see Matt Ray and Garrett Reynolds go against each other in a game of bar spin and tail whip, where you can do any trick that you want to, but it has to involve a bar spin or a tail whip. Can you just imagine what we would see, especially if they played it in like the streets where they ride around and they go from spot to spot and they do a trick on this spot, then they go somewhere else and they have to match each other's tricks? I think that would be really cool. But either way, this video was nuts, and if you haven't seen it already somehow, you're gonna want to check this one out. Oh, and I really wanted to make sure that I pointed out, pay attention to him when he's running up to the last clip in the video. It's got to be one of the biggest truck drivers ever, and it looks like he's like halfway smiling as he's pedaling at this thing, knowing he's jumping like 15 feet down and like 20 feet far. Kind of insane, and he's just like, oh yeah, we're just riding through the park, and then he goes and just does it casually. But I guess that's Matt Ray for you. So with that, let's move on to the next video with Dan Norvell, and it's called DGAF 2020, and it comes from S&M. This video, if there's one video you have to watch this week, there's two videos you have to watch this week, but this is one of them. There's two clips in this video that I really want to point out. One of them is one that you probably already have seen. It's where he does the surfer roller coaster grind on the benches, where he's grinding like 50 feet, and he literally jumps up and does a surfer in a roller coaster grind. And then the other one is the last clip, and the last clip has got to be one of the coolest grind variations that has ever happened. The setup is like a flat, and then it's got kind of a transition that moves up towards a wall, and he does an ice pick grind up it to wall ride, vertical wall ride, to fakie, and then he jumps into a Smith on this ledge and then pops 180 out. And it's got to be one of the coolest things I've ever seen, and I think that a lot of you will enjoy it. And this video is completely different than the Matt Ray video because there's a lot of B-roll stuff in here, and it just kind of feels like it has a little bit more personality because it's not just trick after trick after trick after trick after trick. There's a whole lot more in there than just that, and I think that this is a great one to put after the Matt Ray video, and I think that a lot of you will enjoy it. Then the next video I want to talk about came from RBMX, and it's called Recreating BMX Tricks from 30 Years Ago. And that's exactly what they did. It was Ratty Matty, Gary Young, and DeMarcus Paul out riding street in San Diego, recreating tricks from videos that came out 30 years ago. It was actually a really, really fun video to watch. I didn't expect myself to get all the way through it, but I watched it from start to end and was entertained the entire time. It was kind of vloggy style, which I think was really good for this because we needed to see what was actually happening while these guys were trying these tricks. We needed to see the behind the scenes and not just the tricks themselves. It was really, really cool to see, and I think a lot of you guys who watch these news videos are going to be excited to watch this one because you're going to remember seeing the videos that these original tricks came out in, and then to see these guys paying homage to it and just doing them 30 years later, and actually how much of a struggle they had on some of them is really awesome. And after that, we've got two Battle of Hastings 2020 qualifying submission videos to talk about. The first one comes from Joe Foley, and if this video doesn't win the qualifying for Battle of Hastings, I'm gonna be pissed, honestly. When you open your video with a curved wall ride up to double peg grind on a curved wall that looks like it's probably 8 to 10 foot high, and then the next couple clips after that, you've got a rail ride down a kinked handrail, and not just a super low one either, or super mellow or chill. It was a pretty gnarly kinked handrail to be double tire riding down, the flat, and then the down again. Then he does a lateral double peg grind, which means he's hopping off of something to one side of it, over to it, and it's just, there's so much burly, insane, dialed riding in this video that if it doesn't win, I'm gonna be pissed. And I think a lot of people are gonna agree here, because this is clearly the best one that's come out. It was the best filmed, it was the best edited, all around just the best. And there was a lot of all around riding in here. He also did some stuff on some bank to subs. He did some grinds down rails, like we said, some big gaps. And then the last clip is a gnarly lateral hop over to Smith grind on a ledge that has to be a 10 or 11 foot drop to flat whenever he comes off of it, off of a Smith grind. Imagine when you do a Smith grind, how awkward it is when you hop off. Now imagine that you're dropping 10 feet. Pretty nuts, and I'm really hoping we see this dude at the Battle of Hastings. Then, like I said, we had another Battle of Hastings qualifying submission video. This one is from Matt Perkins, and this one also has a lot of big burly riding in here as well. He does a lot of handrails, he does a lot of drops, he does a lot of gaps, and a lot of stuff like that. There's even a crank flip to tabletop off of a ledge to flat, which I thought was really awesome. And this is a really good video as well. Then real quick, I wanted to mention that the Eddie Cleveland and Friends section from the Fit Life DVD that came out in 2007 has been uploaded over on Fit's YouTube channel if you guys want to check that one out. After that, we've got a video with Sean Curliss in the Backyard Mini at Woodward West. And the video is only 1.5 minutes long, and it's kind of showing the adventure of what I'm assuming is Sean riding from his house to Woodward West and then squeegeeing out the Mini and getting a session in on it in one day. There's a lot of really good tricks in there. There's a flare whip. The last clip has a half cap tail whip in it, and just some really good mini ramp riding with lip tricks and air stuff as well. And I think that some of you will enjoy it. And then somehow 9 years after the riding in this video actually happened, we've got a video that was put together from it that was just never released that came out online this week. And that is the Lost Index Inc. video. And the lineup of this video is what I think is going to make you guys want to watch it. We have Stevie Churchill, Chris Childs, Jordan Barba, Dan Norvell, Jabiri Winters, and Dylan Stark. There's a few of the names on that list I know you guys are going to recognize, and seeing their riding from 9 years ago is intriguing enough to want to click on this one. And it's a longer video at just under 14 minutes. So if you guys are craving a little bit longer of a pure riding video, this is one that you're going to want to check out. And I forgot to mention that the recreating BMX tricks from 30 years ago video that I talked about earlier is like 17 minutes long. So if you guys are also looking for something a little bit longer than that, that one is a little bit longer for you. And then after that, we've got a video with Sam Chamberlain promoting the Eclat Dura peg, and I loved this video. He is bonking his peg off of every single possible thing that he can throughout the video, and every single clip is using the pegs in some way. And there are so many different unique things that he's doing in here that I can't even list them all, but a couple of them just are awesome. One clip that comes to mind is one that I legitimately can't even explain without going into a ton of detail. I think you guys should just watch it, but what it involves is coming out of a wedge, doing like a 90 or 180 to like halfway sprocket on the corner of a wall, and then he uses it to pivot himself and hit his peg to get the rest of the 90 out, going over a hip, which he's actually hitting. And I hope that I explained that well enough, but if I didn't, you guys are just going to want to check out the video anyways to see what I'm talking about. And then there's so much other stuff in this video that just gives it personality, including the song and the way that they filmed it and edited it together. It gave it personality, which a lot of videos don't have these days, and Sam's riding just has personality on its own. So I definitely think you guys are going to enjoy this one, and I really want to hear you guys' thoughts on anything that I talked about today, including the Olympic stuff, as well as the ride-on video with all of the older guys in it. Super psyched to see that one. Super psyched that you guys stuck around to the end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and hopefully that'll mean we'll see you tomorrow for another video. Goodbye.